you think about humans are like computer programs. So you're basically conditioned, you're programmed. So we have programming that we're running on, and all of the insanity that happens in the world is a result of running on an old outdated program. See, we're all still working with our lizard brain program, thinking that the saber-toothed tiger is coming around the corner to kill us. But now instead, it's when someone posts something nasty on YouTube or on WhatsApp or whatever, TikTok, and says something nasty to us, all of a sudden we get this adrenaline rush because here comes the saber-toothed tiger, but there's no saber-toothed tiger. And then we lash out because we're trying to protect ourselves and basically not die. I mean, that's all human emotion comes right down to that. It's just propagating the species and managing that. But that's the problem, is that we're conditioned. And once you start seeing that, like seeing that we're all conditioned and programmed, all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's why I'm feeling that way. That's why I'm acting this way. That's why when someone said this one thing, it really upset me. So that's the true headwind, is the fact of recognizing that you are actually conditioned to act and behave the way you are based on not only your personal experience in your life since the day you were born up to now, but there's genetic memory, there's DNA memory. And a lot of the philosophies and the religions talk about karma and say, well, you're here to resolve that karma from a past life. Well, if you look at it like even like scientifically, my DNA is the same as my ancestors in Norway, the Vikings. Like, I have Viking blood in me. So when I get really pissed at something, it's because my DNA from the Viking days is still inside me. And I think that is the main problem that we have right now, is that we're running on old program. We're running off an old program, the software, and it's not necessary anymore. Like it needs to be upgraded. So many of the spiritual teachers talking about, we need to enlighten, we need to raise consciousness and awareness. Well, it's all pointing to the same thing. And believe it or not, all religions and all philosophies point to the same thing as well. Like, they're all pointing at the same direction. But then everybody starts arguing over, well, no, it's called Bob, not Fred. Well, okay, fine. I don't care. Like, it doesn't matter. I only care about what actually is the fact of the matter. The truth is, we're all running on conditioned programming that causes all the problems. And you and I know this super well. Like, in Strategic Coach, it's the world's greatest philosophy program wrapped in a business blanket, because it's a way of thinking. Because the minute you change the way you're thinking, you're reprogramming yourself. You're just reprogramming it, because you realize that, well, the way I'm looking at it's not working. And why aren't things working right? Well, change the way you think about it. When you change the way you look at the world, the world that you look at changes. That's a Dr. Wayne Dyer quote. And that sounds really all woo-woo and spiritual and stuff, but it's actually real. Like, it's a fact, right? So I think the true headwinds are the fact that we are conditioned and we don't know it. So it's the blind spot. So if anything, the Viking Academy, which I just launched, the whole idea was to like lift the veil and say, just go explore, go look. And so a lot of the podcasts and the conversations I have with people, it's like, I discover things about myself. I'm like, holy crap, I missed that. I didn't even see that coming because someone else shared it with me. And this is that beautiful thing about podcasts, which you already know because you're doing this. This is awesome, by the way. You all of a sudden, you learn a bunch of stuff for yourself. And so it's all a discovery of what's the programming that I've been running on that's not working for me anymore. What's somebody else using a different program, and is it working for them? And it is a different way of thinking. And so when you think, it's the beginning of speech, which then speech turns into action, right? So those are the three. So the creation story, there was the idea, then the word, and then the action, right? So those are the three areas. So and I think of it as the mind, body, and spirit type of thing. But that's what I think our problem is. Like, in a nutshell.
Well, I think that, I love everything you just said there, Erik. I'm really curious, because if it's programming, right? And what you just were talking about is that there's reprogramming, obviously, or the attempt to recode or to reprogram, or through thinking. And, just had guests on, Joey Klein. He actually did it through the form of like breathing, right? And like in creating the connection. I'd like you to, because you've done a ton of deep dive. You've had the opportunity with your Viking Academy to get in front of some obvious reprogramming techniques and thinking and some non-obvious thinking and techniques. And obviously, I'm curious to see if the obvious ones are the ones that most people have like, okay, maybe I've heard, but it's usually in the non-obvious ones where people start getting a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah. So um, it's interesting, and this is where I also think the adventure is. There's this beautiful quote that I put on my website from a spiritual teacher called Krishnamurti. Krishnamurti, if no one's actually listened to him, go listen to the guy. He's incredible. He absolutely incredible. They thought he was going to be the new Messiah. And he came out and they're like, please give us the method, give us the methodology to save life. And you're going to be the one. You're the Messiah, the Messiah. And he finally looked at everybody and goes, there's no method, because the minute you follow the method, you're gone mechanical. The minute you go mechanical, you're no longer conscious of what's going on. So he said, there is no method. And they were all like, but you were supposed to give us the method to enlightenment. And like, he's like, no, there's no method. And so he said, one of his quotes that he said was, a mind that is constantly learning can never be hurt. Kind of parallels with a law of lifetime growth forever. Dan talks about being in a constant state of growth. Well, if a mind is constantly learning, it can never be hurt. So always being in a state of exploration and discovery and childlike wonderment. This is where all the saying stuff is: be childlike, not childish. Right? So be childlike. Like, don't whine and throw a temper tantrum in the corner. That's not what the spiritual teachers have told throughout time. It's like, no, but be childlike, which means look upon the world with these amazing eyes of going, whoa, like this is incredible. And I think that is the beginning part. Like, without that wonderment and childlike awe and exploration, and you can't move forward anyways. So then all the techniques and it doesn't matter. Like, but the minute you stop and just look at something, like I'm sitting here looking out at the ocean, right? I'm on Vancouver Island here in the ocean. Just before I was trying to show you guys, I took my camera and spun it around so you can see the ocean. Where I see killer whales eating seals out there. It's crazy. I sit out and stare at the ocean and I'm like, oh my God, like this is incredible. Like, life is incredible. As soon as I have that childlike wonderment, all of a sudden it becomes joyful. Like, life becomes joyful. And then it becomes just, now I get to explore and just find out new things. So not attaching yourself to any outcome is what say the Buddha talks about. Life as suffering, non-attachment. So it's not attaching yourself to anything is one of the absolute bedrocks, cornerstones of everything. Like, don't attach yourself to this meat sack that you're in your body, right? That's not who you are. There's an awareness, a consciousness that's beyond your body, like physiologically. And this is why I love the Viking Academy, because I explore those three areas. The body that I'm in right now is a different body than that I was in 7 years ago. Like, the body you're in right now it's not the same body as it was 20 years ago. Nope. Not even 7 to 10 years ago. It's totally regenerated itself. Sure looks the same, except mine looks a little bit older now, because every iteration it just starts putting more wrinkles on. What the hell is up with that noise? But it's the same. It's not the same body. So non-attachment, don't attach yourself to things, but be a childlike explorer of life. That is the I think the cornerstone. That's the bedrock of all discovery. Is like, don't take yourself so damn seriously. Be like a child and realize this is an amazing, wonderful world that is just infinite playground of exploration and discovery. And just go explore yourself. Like, not the outside world, but explore who you are. And I think that's why I created the Viking Academy. And again, for me, it's for me as well. Like, I'm not the guru. I don't stand up and say, I'm your guru. Come follow me. I have the system. Like, I don't. Like, dude, really? Come on, Erik. Have you been able to walk over to Vancouver? Can you walk to Seattle, through the Puget Sound on top of the water? No, I haven't learned how to walk on water yet. Right. I'm exploring like everybody else. Right. And that's why I love this concept, is that, and again, through all the teachings that I've read and studied and people interviewed, it's all saying the same thing.
What are the three common things that you see though across all of these, like these teachers, these lighthouses of human beings, right, that are echoing, right? I mean, we are still echoing from the past. What are the three common questions that you have tied together, that as we are doing this internal journey, right, of thinking, feeling, and being?
Mm, yeah. And it's interesting you should say that, because I'm still in a process of, every once in a while I'm like, oh, I think I got it. Like I have this kind of epiphany, like this aha moment. And then I found it. I found the answer. And no, it's not the answer. You know what I mean? Like it's this constant search and thinking, again, trying to attach myself. I think I just had an aha right there. I'm trying to attach myself to the solution, but that's not the point. You can't attach yourself to something. The minute I attach myself to it, I've lost it. So it's this constant wonderment. But just to answer your question, so I've been reading lately, there's the Bhagavad Gita. Have you ever read the Bhagavad Gita? Incredible text from the Upanishads. And so the Bhagavad Gita, and I'm reading the Egyptian text of the Bronze Book, which is the Kolbrin Bible. It's like the original pre-Bible, right? And in both of those, for example, and in, say, the teachings of the Buddha, it's saying that life is difficult. Life is hard, okay? But don't take it personally. It's here to teach you. So life is happening for you, not against you, right? And example, I have on my bedside table is the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, which is the Stoicism, which is exactly the same thing. It says, if you feel you've been harmed by another, you've been harmed. But the minute you change your mind and say, I haven't been harmed by another, you're no longer harmed. Like instantaneously, you can change your whole experience. So it's like harms happen because life is difficult. Life is hard and difficult. It's when we all go, it's not fair. It shouldn't be this way. Well, guess what? You're going to suffer, because now all of a sudden we've put a judgment upon the way life is, as opposed to accepting it and going, how can I think about it differently so that I don't suffer? Because I don't know about you, but I hate suffering. It sucks. I keep doing it, so there must be some purpose to it, but I don't like it. So there's a through line. Life is suffering, okay, is one. It's just hard. Life is hard. Two would be changing the way you look at it changes your entire experience of it and is completely within your control. Okay. And I think that's where we'll come back to that first point, is that your conditioning makes you think it's not under your control, because your mind gets angry. I get pissed off. Somebody does something that pisses me off and I get angry. So for example, like I was showing you around the house here, like we've been going through a crappy situation with our builder of our house, and it's been 3 years of literal hell. We just found out that our HVAC system is not only undersized, there's no fresh air coming into the house or venting, leaving the house. And it's a net zero home. So it's like we've been living in a plastic bag for 3 years. So I've had headaches. I went to the doctor. I was getting MRIs done. I'm like, what's going on here? Do I have something seriously wrong? Because I had horrible headaches. And then finally, after we found out, oh no, the house is not only not net zero, it's not even up to code. We shouldn't even be living in it because there's no fresh air coming in and out of the house. Well, this, of course, and it's been 3 years of like, there's been 80 deficiencies on the house. Like, so all these things, it's been hard. It's been difficult. Life's not fair. But I throw a temper tantrum, get angry, and I'm like, it's not helping me. It's not helping me at all. So I'm like, I got to change the way I think about it and just go, okay, life is difficult. This is a crappy thing. The developer is a a-hole, right? That's, just be honest. That's what he is. You know, it may not be very spiritual to call him that, but that's a fact. Okay. And so he is. And so what am I going to do about it? Well, I, kind of change the way I think about it, and instantly I feel better and I feel differently, and then I can deal with the situation, right? So it's all about changing the way you think about life, and then so how you're thinking, right? So life's suffering and I'm going through suffering. Change the way you think about it and changes the way your life happens. And I think the other common thread, I really appreciate this question because I've never had to articulate this before. I think the third thing is that life is actually very joyful and is a gift. It actually is a gift. It feels like it's a curse, but every curse is a blessing and every blessing is a curse because we have this duality world that we're in, but it's actually a gift. And I articulated this to a friend of mine a while ago, Don Barden. He wrote this. He's written a couple of amazing books called The Perfect Plan, and the latest book's called Here Come the Girls. Great guy, philosopher. He's a PhD in, I don't know, 15 different things. And he's an Army Ranger. He's awesome, dude. I can't believe you never met him. He was in Strategic Coach. Well, Don Barden, great guy. But I articulated this to him once, and all of a sudden he went, "Holy crap, I think you're onto something." And I went, "I think we are." I think the biggest gift that the universe gave you is you. No other human before or after will ever experience Ben laws. Ever. All the experiences, the emotions, the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, no one in the history of time and no one in the future is ever going to experience Ben laws. Only Ben gets to experience Ben laws. That is 100% yours. 100% yours. You and I, and I'll just give you an example. There's something you can just look at. Think about two people watching a hockey game. So right now, Edmonton Oilers are playing the Florida Panthers, right? In the NHL, the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's what's happening right now. I remember going to a playoff game once and watching Edmonton when they got knocked out by, I think it was Las Vegas. So we go into this game and I'm watching this game and it was an amazing game, Ben. Like, dudes are smashing each other into the boards. There was goals, there was drama, there was overtime, blah, 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 blah. And it was all finished and done. Oilers get kicked out of the playoffs then, right? Everybody's hoping that they're going to make it this time, but I'm going to explain this. Two of us are watching the game. Me and my buddy are watching the game. He's an avid Oilers fan. Erik, I'm Norwegian. We don't play hockey. We just watch soccer and go Viking and pillaging and stuff like that. So I don't really care. I'm just watching the game. I watched this game. This is an amazing game. I said, this is incredible. But on my right-hand side was a Las Vegas fan. On my left-hand side was my buddy who's a Oilers fan. The guy on the right was ecstatic, bouncing off the walls. That's amazing. We were. My buddy on the left, he was pissed off. He was upset. The whole thing was horrible. I'm in the middle watching these two guys going, we all watched the same game. We all watched life happen the same way. But yet this guy's pissed off and this guy's happy. So I'm going, why is that? Like, we saw the same thing. How come we don't see reality for the same way? Well, that's because the color of the sky in everybody's world is different because everybody's been conditioned, programmed to see things differently. Everybody does. But this guy experienced joy and my buddy experienced pain and sorrow. And I went, but that's 100% theirs. It's uniquely yours. And that's the biggest gift. And I think that's the third point is I think life is actually a gift. Your life is a gift. The highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the sorrows, the everything, all of it, okay, is yours, 100% yours. And that's the gift that God, the creator, Odin, whatever you want to call it, might jokingly say, like, it doesn't really matter what I call it, Allah, Buddha, Brahma, baby Jesus. It doesn't seem to care, right? It doesn't seem to care. But it's given me this incredible experience known as Erik. And it says, here's my gift to you. Go enjoy it. It's just for you, Erik. I just gave it to you. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, it's amazing.
That is amazing. And what I'm hearing you say is about like the word hard. I think when people naturally hear the word hard, they think of all the hard things in their life and they think of the suffering that usually happens in there. But hard does not mean horrible. Hard just means that, I look at everything that I've ever done in my life, Erik, that's been meaningful. I'm talking about, you want to go like die with zero, Bill Perkins, like memory dividend. It's like, it's usually been preceded with something hard. And so, but I also love that you brought back to the fact of like your house thing. It's not that the house thing didn't happen. because it did. But it's the idea that it was the echo that's looking for the opposite echo. In my example, in my life, that really still echoes loudly, and is Benny, the Benny story. And to your point, I always said it this way: is that like Newton's law, equal and opposite reactions, is totally real. It's not just it's not a like a physics equation, right? This is a mental, this is a feeling, this is like a mindset equation. And what you just talked about is exactly that the reason why sunsets are so beautiful is because it is like the call to action at the end of one day into the night, into the beginning of the new birth. The reason why sunrise is so beautiful is because you had the opposite side, right? Living up north. The reason why spring is so welcomed is because you had like the winter, and it's like you don't get joy if you don't have sorrow. And I'm convinced that until you've experienced like the polar ends of these and you explore these polar ends, you don't actually get to experience more joy, right? Like I've known more joy since Benny than before Benny. And I love that I love that you're calling this out, and I love that you're going, this is a gift. Like the life that we have is a gift. And when you think about it as a gift, if you were at Christmas and someone gave you a gift and maybe it wasn't the thing that you wanted, wasn't the one that you were hoping for, wasn't the one on the list, maybe you might be a little bit disappointed, but you would never go, oh, well, this is trash. You would look at what was given to you and the thought behind it.
Yeah, it's 100% yours. And it is, when you're going through the crap though, and the hard times and the painful stuff, it's not, when someone's talking like you and I, they're like, yeah, they're ready to punch you in the face, right? Because you're like, I don't want to hear this. Like, I don't like that. But I mean, and that's one of the wonderful things I love about Strategic Coach is that Dan creates tools where he makes us go back into the past and figure out, look at the past first, and your future is in the past, right? So we go to the past and look at that, and that's what springboards you into the future, right? There is no future in the future. There's only the past is your future. So we go back and I look at all these things that happened to me. So for example, like, I went all straight out. I wanted to be a chartered accountant or CPA. Boom, out of high school, went to university, got my degree, article at accounting firm, got my in-depth tax, wanted to be a partner, became a partner, was working like the dog, and then all of a sudden, boom, lost it all. And that was, for me, that was probably the worst drop. And it wasn't from losing the accounting firm, it was the fact that I ended up going to rehab for alcoholism, right? So that was my complete, utter personal and professional decimation. Like, I'm on the floor, right? And I lost my business from it. I had to go start my own practice, my own business, and completely bankrupt. You want to talk about complete bankruptcy? Nothing like, drugs and alcohol to really bring you right to your knees. And that was the worst day of my life. By far, if I was to look at the whole picture. But then I look at it and I go, that was the best day of my life. Like, that was 17 years ago now. And I am the person I always knew I wanted to be inside, but had no idea what else was there. Like, my life is more rich and fulfilling now than it's ever have been in those previous years when I was drinking and going on and thinking I was winning, right? But I look at it and go, the worst day of my life was actually the best day of my life, which then tells me, well, then I don't really know what's good for me. First of all. Second thing is, right? First of all, I don't know what's good for me. Second thing is, life is happening for me. Always. I got to experience all that. I have this, dude, I got kicked out of rehab. Did you know that? That's just like, you want to talk full rock and roll? Oh yeah. Okay. So, oh dude, it's so, like, I play in a heavy metal band too. And I was also in a Motley Crue tribute band at the time. Copious amounts of Jack Daniels and cocaine. It was bad. We were pretending to be the guys, but we were acting just like them. Okay. I had this huge crash. Boom. I end up going to rehab. My partners kick me out of the partnership, and I'm in rehab, and I snap because some guy says something nasty to me. I grab him, I throw him against the wall. I'm about to beat the crap out of him, and I realize, this is probably not a good idea. Let go of him. And they're like, sorry, Erik, you're out. So I get kicked out of rehab. That's rock and roll, baby. That is so rock and roll. But I remember the one thing that happened as I was leaving, the counselor said to me, he looked at me and goes, you're going to be fine, Erik. The guy that you went at, he goes, he's not going to make it. But I know you're going to make it because you already know what you need to do. And I went, yeah, sure do. And so as soon as I left rehab, it wasn't the rehab that saved me. It was, I knew what I had to do. And so, I started applying the 12 steps and I just like full in, right? And so I got better. He knew I was going to be okay, but that's full rock and roll. I jokingly say to us, like, I've been to rehab. I got kicked out of rehab, right? Like, just to be a rock and roller. But again, it was all given to me. The gift was given to me, that whole experience, life, all of the pieces that I've experienced in life. So I'm looking back on it, and there's all these things like you can look back and be resentful or upset with people, things that they've done to you in the past. And I've all looked at it and I go, but all those pieces were given to me to create who I am today. And now I can look back on it with gratitude and go, oh my gosh, look at this amazing life that I've had. Like what a drama. Like you take the world's greatest movie, takes you on highs and lows, and the hero is trying to find the heroine, and there's a villain and there's ups and downs. And this is the whole point. Any story that's all, shall we call it the super flat linear, there's no joy in it. There's nothing in it. We're bored. Right. And so the funniest thing is everybody keeps going, I just want to have life settled and simple and calm. And I just want it to stop going up and down. And I'm like, really? Do you? Do you really? Because I don't think so. I don't think humans do. I think we love the drama because we keep doing it. Like entrepreneurs, let's talk about this. This is the funniest thing. So entrepreneur, they're bored. Nothing is more dangerous than a bored entrepreneur. Because what are we going to do?
Become arsonists.
Sorry?
Become arsonists.
Yeah. We're going to go start fires so we can put them out. Like there's nothing worse than that. Like I had one of the people in the workshop. I talked to him and he said like, well, I'm bored. And I'm like, let me guess. You go into the office and they'll tell you to leave, right? And he goes, yeah. I said, yeah, because you just show up and you make trouble. Well, that's what they keep telling me. I went, yeah, because you're bored. He goes, yeah. And I said, you need to start your next chapter. You need to go do something new. You need a new adventure, right? Because we get bored. Humans get bored. So if things all of a sudden went calm, we would make a mess of things just so we had something to do. So I truly believe in the human. And here's the thing. Here's what the Vikings, I love the Vikings because the Vikings wanted to die with a sword in their hand. Just picture this. The Vikings, everybody goes, oh my God, they were horrible. They went and they killed and slaughtered and raped and pillaged and all these horrible things. Yes, they did. But they did it with a lot of passion and a lot of purpose. And they said, I want to die with a sword. I want to go down. I want to go to battle. And I want that guy to kill me while I'm in battle. Because if I do, then I'm going to go to Valhalla and I'm going to party with Odin in Valhalla, right? They lived with full passion and purpose. They knew life was suffering and it was difficult, but they embraced it. Now, I'm not advocating that we go around beating the crap out of each other. I don't think that's the case. But I think as soon as we recognize, and I think this is the aha moment that we can have, it's like once we realize that we enjoy the drama, that we're self-creating the drama, that we're all part of this whole drama thing because this is what we like to do. It's like everybody all of a sudden wakes up and realizes that we're all just playing a part in a big show, like a movie, because we're trying to entertain the audience. We just don't realize we're the audience that we're entertaining. So it's like you're entertaining yourself. Soon as you see that, instantaneously everything changes. There's nothing to do. There's no system. There's no process. There's no turn left and pray to the person on your right and say these words and do these whatever. There's no You don't have to do anything. You just see it. So when you see it for what it is, it instantaneously changes. That's complete action. There's no, because once you see the game, you see what's going on, instantaneously all the programming just goes, it's just gone. So there's this concept, well, this truth that is out throughout all of, well, I wouldn't say all of them, but most of them, is that as soon as you observe, as soon as you're consciously aware of what's happening, the awareness dissolves the problem. It's completely dissolved. So if all of a sudden we all realize that we're all just enjoying the drama and realizing that each one of us is just playing a part of this entire drama known as life. Like if we all of a sudden realize that that's what we're doing because we like the chaos. If we all realize that all at once, if everybody around the world realized that all at once, what would happen?
Well, I have to imagine that that actually may cause some drama in itself because of just the complete awareness, or the realization of misalignment. Or, what I was thinking is that you said all these roles. There's villains, heroes, there's cast members, right, who maybe don't have like a main part. I mean, would there be some realizations of someone going, you know what, this is my life. I am the villain, so I'm just going to be that and stop fighting that. I mean, I'm curious. Do you think that if that realization, Erik, happens, that the awareness is that we are all born? I mean, the whole act of birth, and just, I mean, think from the power of literally in terms of an egg and a sperm, and all of a sudden just the cells replicate. I mean, the power of that. I mean, it's just beautiful. I mean, think about that act of creating from nothing, and all of a sudden you're forcing the new cells to recreate, and all of a sudden we're into this like human being. I mean, the hardship that it takes to just create a human is beautiful. Do you think that everyone would be like realize their beauty, or do you think they would realize or want to assume the identity, or like what would happen?
Have you ever listened to the Dalai Lama? You ever heard the Dalai Lama speak?
No.
He's the soft-spoken, beautiful man, beautiful creature, like just a heartwarming. He starts every answer with, I don't know. And then he says something incredibly profound that knocks you off your socks, right? And I realized that because when you asked that question, the first thing I said in my mind, I went, I don't know. I don't know what would happen. And this is where I'm supposed to say something really profound, but now that I've pointed it out, I won't say it. I won't say something profound. I'll probably say something stupid. But I envision this once you see it for what it is. So again, I'm going to come back to the wellspring of where you and I met, and the beautiful human known as Dan Sullivan. All progress starts with telling the truth. Okay? That is a universal truth, which is the same thing as what I'm talking about. When you see it for what it is, the isness of it. So we've got, you know who Eckhart Tolle is? Okay, the power of now.
Yep.
Do you know where Eckhart lives?
No.
I'm pointing to the island that he lives on. Okay, he lives off of Vancouver Island on another island out there, Salt Spring. He's got a place there. Okay, so that I'm actually pointing to where he lives. Eckhart's all about the power of now, the consciousness, the awareness, being present. As soon as you're completely present and aware, all of a sudden, all your problems and everything just fall away. The Buddha said the same thing. The story of the Buddha, speaking of suffering. Okay, so you know the story of the Buddha?
No.
Oh, okay. So Siddhartha, the Buddha was a king. He was a prince, kept in a castle, and his father didn't want him to have any pain and suffering. So he surrounded the castle, didn't let his son leave the castle, gave him all the greatest things in the world. There was no suffering. There was no hardship. Everything was grand. Okay? He never experienced any. He got whatever he wanted all the time. And what happened was he was just kind of like bored. Sound familiar? Okay. He got bored and he snuck out and he went down the road out into the world and he was starting to see what was going on. And he turned and he saw someone sick and he went, what is this? And he said, well, that's someone sick. And he says, what's sickness? Well, that's what happens. They don't feel good. And he goes, I don't understand that. And then he walked by a dead corpse and he goes, what's that? He said, well, that's a dead body. What does that mean? Well, everyone dies. And he goes, even me? Yeah. He didn't even know that he was going to die. That's how much sheltered his father had made him. He then left, and I'm going to super summarize this. And for any of those experts in there, if I get any part of it wrong, my apologies. But he goes out into then what he does is he leaves and he goes, I got to go figure this out. He was married. He had children, but he just said, I'm out of here. I'm gone. I got to go experience what this world is about. So he went searching for years and years and years to try and figure out what this life in this world was about, and experienced all sorts of suffering. He followed all sorts of different leaders and cults and spiritual advisors and all these things. And he went fasting and he didn't eat any food and he was thin and frail. And finally, one day he was with a group of guys that had all said, this is the path. This is the way, right? This is the system. So they were not eating anything and they were sitting around. They were basically almost destitute, almost dead. And finally, the Buddha, he just went, this is ridiculous. I've had enough. I've been searching for the meaning of life. I've been doing all these processes. I give up. So he sits under the Bodhi tree and he goes, I'm completely letting go. I'm just done. I'm finished. I'm just going to either die or I'm going to become enlightened, but I'm tired. So he sits under the tree and he just goes, that's it. We're done. And he does. And then all of a sudden, there's a beautiful poetry in it. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words. There's a poetry. And when it talks about, here comes the wild beasts, and it's all in his mind. And all these arrows are flinging at him and saying, you better get up and do something. And he sits still and he doesn't move. He does nothing. He sits still. And as the arrows are coming towards him, all of a sudden, poof, they turn into flowers and they just land on his softly. And all these different creatures are coming out, which is, I think, they're talking about his mindset. All these demons are coming at him in his head. And he just sits still and said, no, I'm out. I'm not doing it. I'm not engaging. I'm just going to. And then all of a sudden, ping, he got it. And he started laughing. And he was smiling. And all his other disciples turned and looked at him and they're like, and they could see that something had happened to him. All the other guys they're like, what happened to you? You're glowing. Like, you're so happy. What should we do now? Follow you. And he looks at him. He goes, let's get a pizza, man. This is stupid. Like, he did the picture of the smiling Buddha, roll big laughing, and just let's have a pizza. Like, let's stop. Like, this is ridiculous. Let's have a pizza and just enjoy this life. Right. He became enlightened by not through a system of doing things, but by completely surrendering to it. Like a complete surrender, a complete acceptance of life as it is. And so the story is amazing. And so again, I think it feathers in with what we've been talking about. Humans, we get bored if we're not challenged, if we're not thumped into, right? And so I think there's a commonality in the whole teachings where once you realize that this is just life and it's a game and it's here for you to explore, it takes the sting out of it. You accept it for the way it is and you enjoy your life. I mean, no one that I've met embraces the entire ethos of what I've been talking about more than Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan is the Buddha. He's always smiling. He's enjoying it. He knows life. He understands what it is, but he wants to be himself. He's here to express himself, his unique ability. And the thing that he emanates out is he gives you permission to be yourself as well, which is, that is the joy. That is where the joy comes from. It's that bedrock ethos of life, is that you're here to enjoy and experience you. And Dan not only gives us permission, but he says it's your responsibility to be you. So figure out what your unique ability is, and then go find some other people with unique abilities, put it all together, and you make unique ability teamwork. And why does everybody so joyful when they're doing what they love to do? Is because they're doing what they were put on the planet to do. And it just all connects itself together with this joyousness. Bad things happen. Strategic coach, the whole place flooded. And Dan goes, oh, well, great. Well, here's opportunity to do something different. Well, and he's happy and joyful. He's experiencing life as it is. He's letting it come at him like the Buddha, but he's smiling because he knows it's here for his enjoyment. I think I went all over that. That's a different tangenti. I'd say a full tangenti. Anyways.
Yeah. No, I thought that was great. A couple questions. I'm curious from your perspective. You have like someone like Buddha. I think Buddha ever got pissed after that. I think he got pissed, and like, because I think that we put some of these people on these like pedestals that they were like, oh, they've arrived. Right. I mean, our mutual friend and colleague, Lee Brower, says the enemy of thriving is arriving. And is it that Buddha said, hey, guys, let's stop trying to be there in the form of suffering? He said, let's just enjoy life.
Life is suffering was a quote, Buddha quote.
So, and that's where, but you can it can be acute, chronic, or you can actually enjoy the process of it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack in that question. When you were talking about, did the Buddha ever get pissed or tell someone to fuck off? I think it was the thing, right? I don't think the Buddha said that, Eric. Okay, all right. But I do know that there's stories about Jesus losing his shit in the market and flipping tables over and losing his, completely snapping. Throw his stuff. Hey, guess what, guys? If the Messiah can do it, I'm not telling you to go do this, but you know what I mean? I think what it is like, there's so this is what I was reading in the Egyptian bronze of the textbook, the Colburn Bible. This is like the pure origin story, is that within each one of us is a spark of divinity, but we can't see it because it's been hidden from us. Because we can't see it, but there's always that spark inside of that's constantly pushing us. We can feel it's there. We're grasping in the dark, but we know there's something to go for. There's something in each one of us that is longing for that divinity that we were part of prior to, but we can't see it. And that's what makes humans keep striving and growing and making things better. And I honestly think entrepreneurs are, some people would say, oh, entrepreneurs are the farthest thing from spiritual people. I would have to disagree wholeheartedly, because the act of bringing things up and improving and always looking for opportunities to grow is, shall we call it, a hierarchy. You're moving up the ladder, Jacob's ladder. You're moving towards that divinity that we're all searching for. We're searching for that lost. There's something inside us that says, you're not from here. Okay. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm only visiting this planet. Okay. I don't feel like I really belong. And when you look around at the whole world, do humans look like they fit in? I think not. No, you take humans off the planet, it just looks like a world that's got animals and creatures and trees and everything kind of runs. Drop the humans in and then things go sideways. Like, I don't think we're native at all. But there's that spark of divinity that we're trying to reach for. So that drive is in an entrepreneur. And what I don't think they consciously understand is that this drive to constantly create and make more things is that part of that internal drive to find that divinity within them. They're trying to raise it up, bring ourselves up, right? And so, someone was wearing a t-shirt the other day in Toronto, which it drove me nuts, as it says, capitalism is the enemy. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. There's not a lot of things. There's a lot of problems with all sorts of different systems. I mean, don't get me wrong. Capitalism isn't, the perfect love child. I mean, there's all sorts of bad things happen because that's what life is. It's about drama, right? It's not the best system, or it's not the perfect system, but it's the best one we've got so far. But I do believe that entrepreneurs are reaching for that higher calling, because there's something inside us that goes, I'm not comfortable with just everything being the status quo. Like, here's a question for you. Do you like just doing a process, or do you like doing a project?
Project.
Yeah. Some people like processes, other people like projects. I can't stand process because it feels like I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, okay, I'm bored. I can't do it. Right? Well, because I'm reaching for higher. A mind that is constantly learning can never be hurt. I'm constantly growing because I'm reaching for that. Like, is it the Sistine Chapel where the picture of God is reaching for man, and man is just kind of reaching like this? Like, we're always, there's that reaching for the creator, right? Reaching for an upper level, trying to find that divinity within. And I think and I'm not talking about blind faith. I'm talking about like a terra firma, actual, realistic. Who are we and what are we doing? Our programming is running us. Everything that we're running on is programming. Humans are running on a program, and it's creating so much chaos. It's nuts. It's constant chaos. So we must be enjoying it. Like, we obviously must, because, and I think it can instantaneously go away the minute we see it for what it is. And I think that's enlightenment. That's what the Buddha found. The Buddha found enlightenment because they saw life for exactly the way it was. The Buddha didn't just show up and say, oh, life is rainbows and unicorns. The Buddha said life is suffering because he saw life for what it was. Like, there's all progress starts with the truth. So I'm intertwining all these different concepts, but they all, to me, it's, sometimes I wonder if I'm like was it Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind? Is that
Yeah.
right? Maybe I'm seeing all these connections. Everybody's listening to me going, Erik, you're nuts. But anyways, I see the connection through all these things. And I think it's just seeing it for what it is. Once you really have consciousness and awareness and you see it for what it is, it's like, wow. Then it dissolves. The problem goes away.
Well, you see it in nature, right? Diamonds are created through intense pressure. You know, redwoods, sequoias, like their seeds only germinate after a 2000-degree fire. I mean, those are all things that, like, lots of pressure. I mean, imagine about the pressure that it takes to create a diamond. I mean, we're talking like next level, like Mother Nature type things, you know, to 2000-degree fire. Like, I mean, no one would ever want to like go through that yet, but that's what it takes to birth these incredible giants that we get to experience.
So here's my question for you. How has your mindset shifted around trouble and friction? Like, our good friend Chad Jenkins talks about friction, right? The friction is the way, right? Or yeah, discipline is the way. Structure, like the hardship is the whole purpose of it. But have you been able to reframe your thinking around hardship? And by the way, just so we're 100% clear here, it's not like my shit don't stink. I mean, dude, I still get upset. I'm a fiery Viking, and I am not just sitting here all I'm okay with the fact that the developer is an a-hole. Like, it's not happening, right? I still go through the emotional turmoil and up and down. But I'm curious for yourself, like, have you been able to wrap your head around, and I think you've already shared part of this, is that you and I, and we share this commonality, is that when you have a really, really bad hardship, all of the minor hardships look like pale in comparison, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But have you been able to wrap your head around difficulty and friction and look at it differently?
Yeah, well, that's actually one of the reasons why I was asking you. I'm happy you said that last disclaimer because and then you brought up the, you know, like the Jesus in the temple, you know, like losing his shit, like flipping it. And I think that for whatever reason that it's like maybe it's an obvious observation, but I think the observation that life is suffering, and part of suffering is you have to actually feel the feels. You know, like when when I had to take out the breathing tube from like my son, I got to tell you, I don't think that outside of losing another one of like my children or losing, you know, my wife, uh, but still, I got to tell you, I mean, I was in a position where I had, it's a crazy, it's like, it was the worst thing. And it was also having the realization, I was like, I'm experiencing something right now that I would never wish on even my worst enemy. But there was also awareness of like, I'm living a moment right now. Like I am feeling these feels, and the feels is actually where I think it, for me, where it all is that I'm realizing, like, after Benny, I had like some sorrow. I was the guy that in Starbucks that you turned around and who had just tears streaming down his face. I was the guy that like sit next to, in the plane, just like looking out the window because the sunrise like came up and just like crying. And um but what it taught me was that there was a lot of freedom in actually feeling those feels, because the depth of that's, I think, the point to answer your question. How I've been able to like move through hard things is that I almost now get excited, especially when I hear other entrepreneurs and they're going through something hard, is that it's a precursor. It's an absolute precursor, because the world, God, universe, creator, I don't think gives hard things if it doesn't respect you. And that I was just on another one of my other podcasts, was just talking about how I had a friend write me a text that said, God must respect you, after, everything that was going on with Benny, and then afterwards. And at the time I was like, whoa. But again, there was this context. It was like, well, I think it would have been really easy. And I think a lot of people would have understood if I would have slipped into oh, this just really sucks. You know what? Like, poor me. And people would have like totally gotten it, understood it. Um, but I came away from that even more empowered, more aware, and more accepting that the roadmap to joy is not avoiding sorrow and avoiding hard things. It's actually maybe even almost the seeking out, and not seeking out like I'm going to go do hard things. I think it was, Eric, more I'm going to now be more aware of looking for the hard things. I don't know. Does that land for you?
Yeah, no, you know what I just envisioned you is having this sword and the shield, the axe and the shield, and you're going to battle. The Vikings leaned into the difficult times. They went and they searched out. They said, we think something's over there on the west. They discovered North America, right? The Vikings went across. They thought, you'd fall off the end of the earth, but they went, we're gonna lean into it. We're gonna go to battle, and we're gonna feel all it. I think the other thing that popped into my head, Ben, when you were explaining this, was feeling the feelings. And so with I work with energy healers, spiritual guides personally, and I've had them on my podcast. And again, I even say this out loud to everybody. I'm like, normally I would have thought this was all woo woo until I've done it myself, and all of a sudden I experience it actually really works. Tammy and Denise and Nikki, these are my three healers. They all have said similar things. It's like, when energy comes into you, let it flow through you. Let it flow through you. But the minute we block it, stop it, the minute we resist against it. So think of resisting life. If the minute you go, I'm not going to do that, it traps energy in the body. It traps it in the body, and it needs to eventually expel itself. It gets into your DNA. And now all of a sudden, the teacher said something nasty to you when you were a kid. And now anytime someone says that same thing to you, you get triggered and you get angry and you get fired up. It's blocked energy. It's blocked energy in the system. When you are expressing, feeling the full feelings of losing your son, that was you allowing the energy to flow through you, which is cleansing. It's like a river. It just comes in and then it flows out. It's fully accepting. It's accepting life on life's terms and letting it hit you and go right through you. And the feelings that you need to feel, you feel, and it flushes. So you're not trapping any energy in your body. And so that is the most beautiful thing, is that you've allowed that to come through. And I was thinking about that. Allowing the energy to flow through you, allowing the feelings to happen, right? Right? Without embellishing on them and not going overboard and not being like completely bonkers about it, but just feeling the feelings. This is like, a lot of men's podcasts is like, guys are not supposed to show their feelings. Okay, well, we know what happens. I know what happens when I don't show my feelings. I block the energy. It comes in here, and eventually it's going to come out, right? So I've got all these traumas. My mom hurt me. She did this bad thing to me, blah, blah, blah. Energy healing is releasing that energy. I've done a lot of work internally to release the energy from those blockages. Man, dude, what you were doing there, you are feeling all of it. You're looking out, and I've seen that. Like, I've been into your workshops, man. You're there. You're feeling the feeling. You're authentic. That is the flow, and that's when it flushes through. You're allowing life to work through you, right? So when we allow it to work through us, and we get out of our own way, right? And we allow ourselves to be who we're here meant to be, we're going to call it your unique ability. You're just allowing it to flow, right? But the thing is, we get conditioned in our minds that this is what I have to do. I have to do it this way. And so you brought up and you start following a certain route. Like, I figured I had to go to school. I had to become a chartered accountant, blah, 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 blah. And I was frustrated the whole time because inside I'm actually, I'm an artist. I go on stage, man. I play on a heavy metal band. I'm a drummer, lead singer in a heavy metal band. When I coach, I'm on stage. I'm there to entertain, enlighten, and empower people. Those are the three things that I do. And I do that when I'm on stage with the music. I entertain, I enlighten, and I empower people. And I do the same thing when I'm coaching. But that's who I am. So I love how you said that. You're letting that energy flow right through you, right?
Yeah. 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 It totally is. And when you just said the word cleanse, we spent about 6 weeks after Benny passed, and we like every day, not just like, oh, we're gonna like, we spent every day about 8 to 9 hours really talking about that this was really a gift, him coming into our life in those 16 days for us to rethink about everything: health, wealth, wisdom, how we spend our time, like our relationships, like, and like everything. And and I and without that, I'm going to call it that fulcrum moment. I don't have like this cleanse feeling. I don't get the opportunity to just feel that cleansing. I want to comment on one of the things you said is that we have this divine spark
Mm.
in all of us, because I think so often capitalism is is really surrounded around this idea of greed. Well, you just want more for more sake, for more money. And sure, is having more of a capability like money awesome? Yes, it is fantastic, right? So I want to be really clear when people are looking at this, be like, well, that's nice. That's nice for you to say, right? But I think that you hit truly like nail on the head. That I think that there's this, I love this idea because as I'm continuing to go and like do new things, I'm putting in myself in the position to do hard things. If you talk to anyone who is not an entrepreneur and they have maybe an idea and be like, you should go and take action on that. Immediately, what do you get hit with? Oh, seems risky. That seems hard. That seems and you just allowed me to really unlock, Eric, this idea that really what I'm doing is trying to be in the life stream in the hard as I'm what I'm maybe actually trying to excavate is not just in who I like that maybe it's the answering the question like who are you is really more the question of what we're doing is excavating to find that divine spark.
Bingo.
I mean, that is so freeing. And it's so freeing. And it also allows a different narrative of like, yeah, when you actually go do that and you're doing it in light when most people don't want to, and create you create solutions for awarenesses, right? You create a solution so other people have awarenesses, right? Now their problem dissolves, right? And then therefore the natural, inevitable outcome often is either peace, joy, money, fulfillment.
And so I'd love how you've taken that. See, this is why I love doing podcasts, because I've had a ton of ahas here. You're having ahas, and this is part of it, is figuring out the game. It's the game. Life is a game, and it's given to us to explore. Like, go figure out what it is, you know. Um, the 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 uh, the joy that I feel when I realize that it's a gift and that I get to go explore it and that it's fun, but it's not easy. And this is the thing is that, and this is where it's the idealist goes, life should be this, it should be that, should. Like I always say, don't should on yourself, man. Like, don't should on yourself. Like it's not easy. The most enlightened being on the planet, the Buddha, came out and said life is suffering. It said life suffering. It's hard. The Colburn Bible that I'm reading, they also call it the Egyptian text of the Bronze Book, specifically says that as a good parent, the mother, the earth, they talk about God as the father and the earth as the mother, and the mother is taking care of the child, but she does not coddle the child. She does not coddle the child. She gives it difficulties and tests and forces it to grow for a purpose. So she's being hard on it because a loving parent, unlike the Buddha's father, the king, who tried to keep him all, look what happened there, tried to keep him all, no, I'm going to keep you in the castle. You can't go and see the world, right? Then what happened? He finally broke out and he was like, what's going on here, right? You have to experience the hardship because that's the purpose. The hardship is the way, because it's part of the process. It's been in all the teachings. It says this is the way it is. And the fact is, we can argue, well, it shouldn't be that way. I love it when people say, oh, life, it shouldn't be that way. I went, really? Really? You're shitting on yourself some more. But this is the way it is. Like soon, like all progress starts with telling the truth. Once you see that and you realize it's for you, not against you, which is a choice. Again, you can choose that say it's against you, like it shouldn't be this way. Well, that's feeling that life's against you and you're going to experience shittiness because you're thinking that way. But as soon as you reframe it and go, no, this is for me, man, then all of a sudden it changes. But currently today, how well, and this is the point that I wanted to get to, the original question was, how good are you today of seeing the crap when it shows up in front of you? How consciously aware of this thing that we're talking about? How consciously aware do you stay in that mindset? Because I do not stay in it on a regular basis. Like that's the thing. Like I waffle in and out. I find, if I was to look back, I say I come out of it quicker now, but I still get caught. It's like a trap. Like I get caught in the trap and I get angry and pissed. And then all of a sudden I go, and then I read a passage in, Marcus Aurelius, or I read something out of the big book from AA or something. And then obviously I read it and I go, oh, right. Okay. Like I forget, like you forget.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I almost think you need to break it down into not like who I am as just the individual, the holding company. I almost feel like you need to break it down into the subsidiaries of your identities. I think as a father, I think that I've become, especially after Benny, much, much more aware. And again, just for context, I have a 17-year-old, a 4-year-old, just 4-year-old, and Benny would have been about 18 months. And, we have another one due here. And, there's a big difference between my identity as a father at 26. I will tell you, I was not aware of shit when I was 26. But at 39, you realize how quickly it passes, like in just like the life and just like the missed moments and opportunities. And, and again, that past informed my future. And so then Benny like happened for us. And now it's like, so it doesn't mean that I still don't get annoyed or irritated, the normal parent things, but I got to tell you, I am really, 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 really quick to, when Mia comes up and wants to like wrestle and I'm like on my phone and I can feel it. I can literally feel it. Like it's like going, like the sun's going to set and I go, you know what? I can always do this, but I'm not always going to get to do this. And then we'll just, but and like my entrepreneurial identity, I think that I have built an enjoyment of when it gets hard. I almost get even more calm, and when it's actually too calm, I actually probably get too, like you said, bored. I get almost uneasy, and then but there are certain parts of my identity, like like the things that were like the gene, when you talked about these genes, like these, we hang on to these genes, and I think these are things that like probably like in my identity as a partner, as like as a lover, as a best friend, with Jenna, that those are times where I realize it after I've had like that. I find the divine spark and it comes out in like a flamethrower. And then you realize, nope, that wasn't the divine spark. That was me not acting in a childlike way. That was me acting childish. And so those ones, I'm very aware of it after the eruption. And I think those are things that, but these, having these conversations like this, and just in this podcast, and just being around people like you, Eric, you really start to understand that agency extends to everything, to everything that is in our conscious, and quite frankly, our subconscious.
Yeah. That's the programming, the subconscious programming that's running the show most of the time.
Yeah. And that's a son of a bitch, by the way. The 95% programming, or the subconscious programming that makes the decision, is brutal. How about you? How would you answer that question?
Well, no, this is great. Thank you for that, because I like how you simplified it into, because if I think about it all the time, I'm trying to pick all the different areas, but when you subsetted it and saw the subsidiaries, we're both talking about, org charts for corporations, which is great to think about your body as a company. But you've got the husband, I've got the father, I've got the friend, right? Like the father, those three areas. I can see the same thing. It's like all of a sudden it's almost like when I get caught up though too much in the life, when I get caught, let's put it this way, when I'm in too much programming and I'm just running on the program, I lose awareness. And when I lose awareness, I react negatively to those areas, and I'm not putting my time and attention where I really want to be. Like what you were saying, like my daughter comes over to me and she's like, Isla's 12, and she comes, Dad, come see what I did over here. And she loves doing artwork, and she's a creative and all that. Yeah, okay. I'm busy. I'm just working on something. And then all of a sudden you go, oh crap, what am I thinking? Like, why am I like, put the computer away, go over and spend time with her, right? Like catch that quicker, right? But when I'm in the unconscious programming and I'm going, then I'm in survival mode, right? You're in total survival mode. And I'm running on old programming. And that's the thing is I still just come back to the beginning of the conversation. I think humans are just running on old programming. It's outdated, and we need to upgrade it, right? There needs to be an upgrade. There needs to be an enlightenment. When we call it enlightenment, upgrade the programming, reverse the conditioning. It's all the same thing. Soon as you're aware of that, you're conditioned, that you're aware that there's programming, that you're aware that you're not enlightened to what's going on, it instantaneously solves itself. Because awareness is the light, and shall we call it the light of the creator, that divinity spark in us. And that's that part. Soon as you have complete awareness, it's like you're tapping into that divinity within you that then cleanses the plate. Darkness cannot live in the light. And so it's like you're opening up and creating light on something when you're aware and conscious of it, and it just cleanses it. So that's the part that that I am striving to be more aware of, is to be more aware of that awareness. If I'm more aware, then the unconscious, subconscious programming can't take over and freak out. Like it did the other day. Like I had a flare up with one of the coaches on my daughter's baseball team, one of the other coaches who's on the board of directors. And there's, typical, as soon as you get a bunch of parents involved, it ruins a kid's game. But he said something to me, and I got flared up about it because it was something really stupid that they just were making a big deal about. And I went into subconscious programming and got really pissed off. And then as soon as that happened, I had to go back and go, oh, okay. Go back, apologize. I'm sorry I got all heated. This is what happened. I'm sorry. Shouldn't have taken it out on you. I was shooting the messenger, right? Instead of taking the message. And it just happens, right? Like, I'm not saying like I'm like Jesus and have a temper tantrum, but I did exactly the same thing. I had a temper tantrum, and I just trying to have less of them. I want to have less temper tantrums. I think that's a low bar to achieve. I think that's a good low bar to achieve. I just want less temper tantrums and be more aware. So I'm in the same, but I'd really like your reframing of the different areas. That really helps a lot, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. We are super complex beings, and we have a lot of identities, ones that we think that we have, and there's ones that we don't even know that we have. There's ones that people put on us. And then you can even get even more molecular in terms of like, you can go friend. Well, then you could actually take each relationship and go, where's my awareness? And I mean, that's the thing I think is really fun, is that you're never arriving, because I think that you're tying this back into that your body is different than it was like 7 years ago. And what is it? Like every 90 days you have brand new red blood cells, right? And by the way, to get autophagy, am I saying that right? Like you fast, right? It takes like 3 days of like fasting for you to have cellular autophagy. I think that's how you say it. For it to like replace like the broken cells. Again, the hard things. One of the things you also talked about, Erik, was energy and energy work. And I could feel people when they're listening to this, they're like, oh, I could feel the collective potential eye roll that was happening here. And would you be willing to talk a little bit about how you think that the energy work is, and why does that feel so quote unquote woo-wooey to people? And I think the follow-on to that is, what would you encourage people to do or to try?
Well, I would highly recommend that they go listen to a podcast, the Viking Academy podcast, with my interview with Gina Molokoni Long.
Perfect. We'll put the link in the description here.
Gina, and there's been I've done a couple podcasts with her. She, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, she deals with all of these different things. She has this incredible viewpoint on things, and I love it. She said, have you ever seen someone get hypnotized?
Yeah.
Okay. Did you know that hypnosis is a thing that advertisers use all the time?
Mm-mm.
It's actually, it's hypnosis. You put people into a hypnotic state and then you give them suggestions. Okay. And the way you do that is you actually show them something that's totally outrageous. So it turns off the reasoning faculty of the mind. So the mind goes, oh, this is ludicrous. And it just goes, okay, I'll just watch this. It's just not real. And then you give it a suggestion and it'll be more susceptible to the suggestion. Okay. Hypnosis is a thing that actually works and people can do it. There's a process to actually do it, to do hypnosis, right? And it's been proven, it's scientific, it's all there. But back in the medieval ages, people would have thought it was witchcraft.
Really? Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense.
Okay. So a lot of the things in the past that we thought was unreal and it was witchcraft or it was the hand of God or all the rest of that, we are slowly unpacking and saying, actually, no, here in the physical world, it actually works. It actually is possible. It's true, right? So if you think about that, the things that we thought in the past that were witchcraft or spiritual or woo-woo, we're now showing scientifically is true. For example, we know now that there is no such thing as matter. Everything is energy. Everything is, if you go down lower and lower and lower and lower and lower, there's nothing certain thing as energy. It's vibrations. There's vibrations. There's string theory. It's all energy. Everything's vibrating at just a different energy level. So all of life is an energy play. Like there's actually nothing physical here. You see physical, you see a three-dimensional object here, my body and stuff. But when you go deeper down to the quantum level, and you really get bonkers on it at the super quantum level, things are coming in and out of existence all the time. They pop in and out. Boop, boop, boop. They just disappear. Then it shows up over here and then disappears.
Wow.
Bonkers. Okay. But they're scientifically proving these things, that everything is just made up of energy. It's all energy. So again, when someone comes in and they do energy work on you, have you ever had someone do Reiki on you before?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So they're holding their hands above your body, and all of a sudden they could create heat in your body and warms it up, right? So now you're heating up the parts of the body without even touching. Well, that's like witchcraft, right? No, it's not. It's real. It happens. So there's energy flow that happens. So and there's a phrase that I love. Nothing can keep a person in everlasting ignorance is more than contempt prior to investigation. So when you say, that's garbage, I don't believe it. Okay, that's because you haven't explored it. You haven't tried it. If you don't believe or disbelieve. See, that's one thing I don't believe. I'm not a faith person. I either know, I believe, I know or I don't know. I don't believe or disbelieve. Because the minute you say, I believe this, but you don't know it, but you believe it, you've just lost all possibility of finding out the truth. So you either know or you don't know. There's a lot of stuff I don't know. A lot of it. Some things I know, but a lot of things I don't know. So I went in and I tried energy healing and energy work. And I'm blown away. It's amazing how it makes me feel. It freaks me out a lot of the times when they start telling me things about my past or parts of my body. They said, you had an injury over here? I'm like, yeah. Like, I don't know. It's like when you're around 17, 18. Yeah. I broke my leg. She goes, yeah, that's a small bone on your leg, like down here. I'm like, yeah. How does she know that? How does she know that? She picked up the energy. She picks up the energy from my body because it's vibrating at a different frequency because of the injury that I sustained. From a quantum realm perspective, there's no such thing as time. So she's connecting into the quantum realm to see that, that injury happened back at this space and time. If you look at it that way, it's actually technology that they're tapping into.
Ooh. Okay, say more about that. I do have a question for you, but say more about that. They're tapping into technology.
Well, it's technology. It's a technology. There's a way of seeing and experiencing things. Let's put it this way. Back in the, let's call it, we'd probably don't even have to go that far. 1900s. I go back in time and all of a sudden I pull out this thing, the cell phone, and I tell my buddy, my great grandfather, and I said, hey man, do you want a book? He goes, what do you mean a book? I said, well, I'm just going to order you a book. So I'm going to bring out this piece of glass and I'm going to beep, 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 poof. Then all of a sudden a truck comes over, drops off a book, and I hand him the book from Amazon. He would look at me and go, it's witchcraft. It's crazy. Right? No, it's just technology. We're unpacking the technology of the human being as well. At the same time, this longevity, everything in the body, it's longevity. They're realizing there's technology here that's all at play. It's energy, right?
So Erik, here's my question, right? So you got some people, and I can already tell that they're probably gonna be like, oh, like this isn't about faithfulness, right? And I can just sense that people who are believers either in Christianity or whatever the religion is. How does this, because I can feel them go like either you know or you don't know. And they'll be like, well, that's the basis, right? It's like we don't know, and that's why we believe, right? And that's the basis of faith. How does this either enhance their relationship with whatever people are choosing to believe here, or do you feel like is this like something that would threaten, like going down these like realms, this energy work realms, would that threaten that relationship or their belief system?
Well, I get that. So here's my first thing, just to clarify here. I am not poo-pooing religion whatsoever, because if the proof is in the pudding, right? Let's just look at the litmus test. Does it work or does it not? If my belief in Jesus makes it that I am a good person and I treat my neighbor well and I feel good and I'm enjoying my life and I can endure hardship because my Lord Jesus Christ Savior is walking me through this and I can get through that, then it works. Perfect. That I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that at all. At all. Where I think the problem comes in for every single religion, pretty well, is that it tells you you should not ever look at this because it's witchcraft. Do you know you would have heresy? Do you know Socrates, the world's greatest philosopher, right? You know Socrates.
Yep.
Amazing. Do you realize that he was condemned to death for heresy?
No.
For teaching the young people crazy thinking. So he was put to death. Okay? Socrates. Everybody said, what? Huh? How is that? Yeah, true. True story. True story. It's when they start saying, you should never do this, don't do that, that's witchcraft, that is the devil's work, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So exploring is the devil's work. The earth is flat. Ben, do not go past that horizon because you will fall off the end. And so, no, I'm going to get in a boat and I'm going to go try it. No, God's going to punish you. Don't do it. Don't do it. All the priests here are telling you that you're going to be banned. And if you go and you come back, we're not going to trust you. We're going to have to kill you because you're going to be an evil spirit, a creature. Okay. Does that seem sense? Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does. It does.
So all the things that we're believing are 100% true and we're following religious principles that are keeping us from exploring and seeing what the world is really about, I think that's a major problem. Because a mind that is constantly learning can never be hurt. So you should be in a constant state of growth and exploration. But just to say, thou shall not pass here, I think that's where the problem is, right? And so the thing is, I personally find life becomes joyful and pleasant when all of a sudden I see it for what it is. My awareness is the ultimate cleansing guide, right? You can feel it when you're in flow, when you're doing something that just feels right and you're working and people are getting results and it feels good, right? When you're up in front of the workshop and you're coaching other entrepreneurs and you see the lights pop on in their eyes and you're like, man, this is the juice. This feels great.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I'm saying for people. I believe everyone was put on the planet for a reason. I honestly do. Do I know what that reason is? Hell no. But I think that's the adventure, is for you to go figure that out for yourself and to experience your life. That is the joy. I think that's the ethos of the Viking Academy. Go explore your mind, body, and spirit and discover who you are, why you're here, and what you're here to do. And it becomes an adventure. And I think that's what life is.
Yeah, an adventure for awareness.
Just go play.
Just go play. Erik, I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. If people want to know more about you, they want to follow you, they want to read anything that you've done, they want to listen to you, follow your socials, like where do they go?
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I got multiple companies that I have. I've got MBA, CPA, that's a CPA firm that I actually own now. I thought I was going to be out of that. It's like the mob. You think you're out and they suck you back in. So I got an accounting firm. I also have a coaching program called the Accountant Success Formula, which coaches accounting firms, which is how I got that accounting firm. I also do the Viking Academy. So the vikingacademy.com. There's a podcast, there's a free membership site. And again, it's a resource platform for exploring yourself, in your mind, your body, and your spirit. And, I call it personal development in a Viking blanket, wrapped in a Viking blanket. So, and I'm also coaching as strategic coach. And you and I are both associate coaches at Strategic Coach. So you can find me at Strategic Coach as well. So there you go.
Absolutely. You have pretty involved active socials.
No, I'm allergic to social. Yeah. But I am on LinkedIn, and I believe that my team's got me on Instagram and Facebook and stuff, but I don't go there because I'm allergic to it. I break out in assholes anytime I go on social. So I'm allergic to it. I don't play there. So.
Well, hey, before I sign this off here, one of the traditions we have here on the podcast is allowing our guests to give the last thought, the last echo, so to speak. So what would you tell our audience for them to think about and ponder after this podcast episode?
Your life's a gift. Go explore it.
Erik, thank you so much for being on here. Thanks for the generous sharing. And thanks for the teaching. I learned a lot today, and I know our audience will as well.
It's been my pleasure, Ben. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for listening. A big thanks to Elation Lab for the production and creative design. Remember to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Keep listening for more Max Life.